Roll that one.
You can share.
I just ready.
Give me seconds.
Okay.
We started in 5,
Do you want to type?
4, 3, 2, 1, and action.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Odinohu Dimper's lunch. Today we're going to talk about the men and parenting, as we started from the last time. This program is being sponsored, and we have our directors here who are going to produce this for us. We're still looking for sponsors for this program to go far. The families that we have in the UK and elsewhere, we have issues, especially we men, and it's come to all of us about time that we have to start doing something. This is ITC8 bringing to you Men and Parenting, and I have with me here
Mr. Kofi Kula, community project worker.
And Nana Ma, I'm a parent.
Anthony, I'm a parent.
Nana Abubu, I'm a parent.
lady and gentlemen. On the last segment, we talked about men and parenting. There was a lot that we talked about, and there was more questions that came in to answer. I had to go through a set of ladies, about 25 of them, and I asked them about questions, which I've got a lot of them from the last program that we did, and also where as men we fall short as well. So I asked them questions about what do they need from us and what we can do to better ourselves. Literally, what we found out in UK is we see our young men, most particularly young men, going out there, stabbing, stealing, doing all sorts of things. We don't know where it came from, and as I spoke to you guys, we came all to one mind, thinking about how best we can do this. Because if we as the men, we're not doing our jobs properly, and we leave home, what do we leave behind? Do we even see the kids? Do we even help them out? Do we give them stability in life? So for today, one of the things that is mainly that's killing us as Africans is we've been told as African or
Okay,
as
cut. Look like the introduction is taking too much time. What you need to do is just go straight to the point, control from where you ended last week. So introduce them.
So we've been told as men to man up rather than opening up. How does it help us as a man? And I'll come to you, Nana.
Good afternoon, viewers. I think we men, we need some encouragement as well. And that is, at times, some of the men allow the system in this country to affect us being ourselves, thinking that if you're a man and you do this, the authorities will come in hard on you and that. But as a man, you got a responsibility, and your responsibility is to your child, your home, basically. So if your child is going wayward, you, the man, has to take control. Because if you allow, excuse me to say, the women and the society to take over, then you've lost that. So for me, I will encourage that men should put aside fear of the society and the authority, and then do what you have to do as a man. If that means you have to end up being going against the law, at least you save a child, rather than being afraid of the system and the society and your child, losing your child. So for me, I think the way we can man up is to take our responsibilities head on.
Danny?
Yeah, basically we ask ourselves what's parenting, and I think that is where we start from. they going to school, feeding them, are normal aspect of life that we don't need to contribute to. It's gotten to a point that our children needs us being one-on-one with them, spending proper time with them. And that is what has been taken out of the vacuum, because most of the time, men are out there working, women are out there working, and we switch over. As soon as somebody comes in, we literally switch over. We need somebody to be there, to be the father or the mother, to spend some time with them, because if we don't, they're going to find something to occupy their time. Children in particular at the moment, they need somebody to be there with them because they're sucking a lot in. And I think being a parent, that is one of the goals that we have to take in life, that we have to prepare to spend proper time. If we don't, the youth will take over, the friends will take over, and hence the reason why we come across the things that you mentioned earlier about people being starving, people on the street, because we are not there for them, and they replace us with some people that are going to be there for them.
Okay, you will have anything to say?
Yes, I have something to say. I think it's a good question, and as fathers, you know, what we need to look at is what is our own cultural values when we are in Africa, you know, and coming to the UK, what is the way forward in terms of caring for children. And sometimes we get confused by our style of upbringing, the way our upbringing influences us in terms of parenting our children. And I think this has been the main issue with us, you know, going by what we know from back home, when the challenges, in particular the 21st century, is different. The challenges for a parent now is different to a parent, you know, the way we was brought up. So if we are going to use the style in terms of our cultural values, in terms of our family values, for instance, someone was saying to me that, you know, this is the way they were being brought up. So they feel that their children have to go along that way. However, they didn't grow up in the same environment, you know, where they are exposed to the 21st century stuff.
So,
I tend to agree with what you just said about, you know, looking at the way we were brought up, being brought up in Ghana, and then you come to the UK or you live in America or wherever, and then you try to sort of import that method of upbringing. And obviously you're setting yourself up to fail. You have to adapt. And I wonder what you guys, I've been talking about money now, you talked about what people need to do. I wonder what you guys actually do yourselves. Because I believe in showing people what.
Coming back to being man up rather than being open up is a total different. I've heard of what everybody is saying, but when we be man up, it's about we expressing our views, what we bottle within us. Do we share? That's what the question was. Do we share what's between us? Because we've been bottling it and sealed as men, and do we actually open up rather than being man up about it?
I would say, okay.
There was something that she said I like so much about manning up. We could ask ourselves that when we come into society that we are, which all we mentioned about the society that we are in, how much education do we get as individuals? How much do we educate ourselves about the environment that we are in and whatever we do at the moment? Because we need to educate ourselves first. Know what grounds we are standing, and that will give us the basic to educate our children. But most of the time, we, the parents, are not educated. Not educated in the means that we haven't been to school, but the culture around us, the technology around us, the day-to-day basis around us, we haven't taken that in. And if we were to take that in, then we can pass it on. Because we become a role model for our children. And therefore, before you can tell a child what to do, you have to know where you're coming from and what you're doing. And most of the time, we ignore that aspect, and we still carry on with our fundamental education that's been given to us, and then we try and pass it on. And hence the reason why the failure starts. You say something?
Yeah, on the issue of do we talk about our feeling, I think culturally, African men don't have to express their inner feelings. That's the assumption.
Why is that?
Yeah, I think that's the cultural assumption. But I think it's time we talk man to man. I mean, we've got friends. If you're going through some problems, you can call your friend, discuss it with your friend, and you realize that not only you have that problem. Women love talking. which is natural for them. So they tend to talk a lot, but we don't talk a lot. We bottle a lot of, yes, but it is for our own good to be talking often about problems and finding solutions. So for me, I talk a lot.
Well, I'll start with Missy again. How do we communicate in our homes and our relationships?
Okay, so just so you know my background, I mean, obviously I've got 2 children. I've got a boy who's 16 and a daughter. And in terms of communication, I do talk a lot. My kids think I talk a lot. I want to know everything, and nothing shocks me. And I always make sure that I actually reassure my children that I've been their age before, so not a lot shocked me. So I'm a single parent, so obviously there isn't a man in the house, but I think that you have to take any opportunity that you get to actually talk to your children, to get to know them, and also make sure that they know that you've got an open door policy, that whatever happens, they can come to you, they can share it with you. You may not necessarily agree with them, you may go crazy because of what they've told you, you may smash a few glasses or whatever it is, but ultimately I think love is the thing that you need to sort of ingrain in them, and for them to actually know that you love them. And if they know, you know, you love them, then obviously they won't worry at all about coming to you about whatever issue they have.
That's good, that's good. Danny?
Yeah, we tend to love saying things as men at the moment are our gadgets, as our phones per se. We don't live anywhere. We take the phones with us all the time wherever we go. We should use that tool as the way we speak to our children. They should be like the phones to us, because that is going to be the way they will feel around us. You could talk to them at any point in time. That you don't even forget. Once you're out the door and you forget your phone, you run back to get it. When you're running out and you forget to give your child a hug, a kiss, you run back and say, oh, I've forgotten to do that. And these are the things that we had to try and implement in our lives. And if we could do that, the children will have no doubt to come and talk to us about everything. Absolutely anything, they'll come and talk to you about it. That's my view.
The hugging and kissing part.
I like that.
The hugging and kissing part. I mean, I will raise my hands. I'm not a huggy person. Kissy to children, because it doesn't come natural. So I won't run away from that. But at least let's assure the children and about the gadgets thing. I think we need to also get to know what children are doing on their phones, on their computers. I don't agree on games in my house, so I've never bought any games set. But even that, I've noticed that they've been finding ways to play it online and other places, because when we go out and they get to a place there's a game, they know how to use it. But personally, I don't allow games in my house. So that's me, because I know that at times it can take a lot of their time. They don't even sleep well. They will play games when you are not there. So for me, that's my way of, getting them away from TV and games and these things. But it's how everybody does their thing. For me, games is a no area, because I see there's so much violence in games. So some of the attitude these children pick, they actually pick them from cartoons and the games. I don't know if some parents take their time to watch what their children watch. If you take your time to watch some of them, you'll be amazed about what they show to them. Some of them are not good to me. So as men, we should also take an interest in watching some of the things they watch, and also let them also get an interest in what you watch. So for me, I like watching documentaries. So I like to sit there with them to also watch some with me.
That's very good, but the question was about how do you communicate?
That's
how do you communicate? Because
to the children.
You just started. You don't know hugging and you don't know.
No, I said I'm guilty of.
You're not. Yeah, good at it. But we live in a society that we have to. Sometimes it's not. We can't take everything with ourselves, but there's some we can pick about your children, and I can challenge you. Hugging your child or telling them how much you love them, right? It goes a long way. So I can challenge you. You could go home and try this now. Because you know what? There's something that I saw on WhatsApp lately, and it's about how Africans or black people don't know how to tell their kids, I love you.
Yes,
Is it a question of how warm are we with our children? You know, instead of or how comfortable is your child who is with you? You know, and also as a parent, you know, because many parents, it depends on the parenting style. You know, the style of the parenting will determine how warm are you with your children. Are you one who is authoritarian, who goes there, you know, and then shouting? So therefore, the children become frightened of you and uncomfortable when you are around. Or are you one which is warm, where the child is able to come to you at any time? Can we say to ourselves, in our community, you know, we talk to many parents, they will say to you, oh, the children are in their rooms. You know, they get their food, that one go to their room, particularly teenagers. Some don't say a word. None of the parents, have you eaten? That's all they talk about. Have you eaten? Have you eaten? Oh, you're going where? Where are you going? But is there interaction, parent and child interaction? And what is the attachment? How comfortable this child is with you? You know, that when they are out in the community, they will be able to come home and tell you whatever they did. As fathers, do we do that? I think that is an area that we need to work on as a community.
How do we speak? Or do we actually listen to our children when they talk? How do you listen? Because you know what, it's not just about, oh, okay, yeah. Did you go to school? Yes. No, it's not about that. It's how do you speak to them for them to share what they feel? And how do we take it? Do we compromise on what they're saying? Or we just think we are the dad, so we should just forget about it?
The fantasy.
I was just about to add something to what Brother just said. He said something about games and the children end up knowing now the games they play. Sometimes we should let our children educate us as well. And that's a bit that we don't do. Because by them educating us, he gain out or my child gain out not playing game at home. But being able to play game outside, that means they find a way of doing certain things that we don't know. So we should get closer to them and find what they are getting their interest into and then learn about them. Because one way or the other, they're going to end up doing that anyway. If you were to find out what your child is into, and back to what you're saying, how close are we to them, then you can actually educate the child on that aspect that this part is going to be dangerous. That is good. Don't go deep into this place, and that is the education we should be giving to our children. To get close to them, it doesn't matter what game they play, but find out what games are not suitable for their age, and educate them the reason why it's not suitable for their age. Find out what friends they are going out with. Find out their parents, the friends that they're going out with. See them if you have to meet them. They're educating you because that is the way they're going. That's their friends they're going to grow up with. So they tell you that this is where I'm going, the school I'm going, this is the people I play with. So you should learn from them and say, okay, this is what my child does best. But we, as back to what I'm saying, we don't educate ourselves by not seeing all these things, and therefore the communication between us and children becomes a distance.
Is it a matter of also knowing about, you know, when we say, because what you are talking about now is part of communication, but not the full one. But then what you say is that what you're more talking about is more to do with child sexual exploitation in terms of internet use, in terms of games, in terms of their friendship, their peer groups, you know, the things they do and things like that. And the way things are as parents, you may have a parent also father with a learning disability, or maybe have a mental health problems, maybe have alcohol issues, which we have to consider that also as well. But it's important for us to have knowledge of all these things, and also because you are the one paying for the child. If your child is playing games, I may not have an interest of playing the actual game with the child. However, what you have is that a parenting on restrictions on the child's game or on the home gadget, preventing the child to play any game that is over the age limit. So therefore, you have control. No matter how they try it, they can't go. But coming back, hugging, doing things with the children in terms of communication, I think that part of our culture is that we tend to be away from our children, you know, and in terms of playing a bit of distance. You know, as fathers, they feel that we contribute to the house and it's enough. We leave it for the mothers, and there is a lot of pressure on mothers, you know, with these emotional issues at home, dealing with it. And I feel that it's time for us to reflect on the way we parent our children and also get involved with their play. I mean, I've come across people who children play football. They never been there to watch them, but the mothers always take them.
The fathers are going to take money.
I come across children doing a lot of activities in the communities. The mothers are always there. The fathers never there. You know, even if you are separated from the family, this is the time that you can also, as a father, contribute towards it, show interest of communicating with our children instead of leaving all the responsibilities for the mothers.
Of course, this year it's about fathers and our sons, especially fathers and our sons, because this topic is about, it's not just about sons only, but we talk mainly about sons because they lead. I mean, they copy everything from us. Whatever we have within that is what they copy, and what we have in the house is what goes out. What are the roles of a father to a son? Is it just about being a breadwinner, or just being protective, or just we think about building a happy home?
Can I just say, in terms of what you just asked about, what's the role of this a man or a father? For me, because my son's dad doesn't live with us, or rather the other way around, I see his role as a role model. That's all that matters to me. And for me, what I want is for my son to grow up to become a strong man, if there's such a thing. I provide a home for my son, I feed him, I clothe him, he goes to school, all his basic needs are all met. So in terms of what his dad adds, then what does he add? He adds, you know, he's a man, so obviously there's certain things that women can't do. And I try to encourage as much, you know, for them to spend as much time together as possible, because he needs to learn how to be a man. But ultimately what I wanted to say was that growing up as a teenager, I'm sure there's nothing that you guys sort of, you know, none of you guys can actually say that when you were growing up there were things that you did that your parents agreed with. I think that is the one thing that we all have to have in our minds, that ultimately there are things that our kids will be doing that we don't agree with, or we're not necessarily approved of, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, the world that they're going to be inheriting will be completely different from our world. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we equip them with the skills for them to be the modern men, or to make them the 21st century men, for them to actually, you know, survive. And what we should be doing is empowering those, you know, young people by us sort of empowering ourselves so that we can impart the knowledge that they need.
Going out there, you see so many men. I mean, it's not, on the last program we just talked about it, that it's not just we don't want to go. Some people or some women they prevent the men from going to the house.
Right.
And I'll come back to you.
Yeah. Okay. So women preventing men from seeing their children.
Yes.
Oh God. Okay. So that's a very, very sort of, you know, it's a very hot topic. Okay.
I'm sure you know about it. And as a woman, that's what I
For me, in terms of personally, my view on parenting is that the best people to bring up a child is their parents. Okay, mom and dad. All things being equal.
Yeah.
And I think that ultimately adults need to put their feelings and everything else aside and actually look at the kids and put the kids' interest first. And parenting is all about sacrifice. Yeah, it's all about sacrifice. If you've got issues with your partner, you seek counseling. That should not affect the children in any shape or form. Obviously, in an ideal world, that's what tends to happen. But I'm also aware that there are some people who can't put their emotions, you know, aside where their children are concerned. But for me, the fundamental belief is that the best place for a child to be brought up is, you know, or the best people to bring up a child is the mother and the father.
So if
all things being equal.
If you have any advice for a lady, what would you say right now?
A child needs both of their parents. Everything else is a side issue. It's a byproduct. You can resolve that. But the principle should be that a child needs both of their parents. Regardless of whether they live together, don't live together, they need to have a relationship with their mother and their father. All things being equal. Unless there's an abuse or some crazy stuff going on, that is the only caveat. But the main principle for me is that a child needs their mother and their father. And I live, you know, by that rule myself. So no matter what's going on between me and my ex-husband, I want to kill him sometimes, but after arguing with him, I tell my son, go and give your dad a hug. So yeah.
It's a fair point. Most women in our society that we've come to now try to prevent a lot of men. And I'm happy that you mentioned that you need both sides. Sometimes the emotion sets in, and then therefore they try to demand a lot out of the man, i.e. financial means instead of education means. And back to what I keep saying again about education. Most of these women that are doing that are not educated in the basics that you need a mother and a father to bring up a child. Because sometimes you think, okay, the mom, I'm a big woman, and what a man can do, a woman can do better. So therefore you take a lot upon yourself. And before you realize you crash